Welcome back. I'm JR, owner and inventor of the Pronator. I'm also a physical therapist and a strength and conditioning specialist. You are one of my amazing customers who have purchased a Pronator. I'm doing a series of 3 videos to show you my favorite exercises, just again as a thank you for buying the product. That first video we did prone exercises. We did on the ball here, and I showed you some great exercises to do with the Pronator. If you didn't see that, please go check it out. The second one now, we're going to do throwers 10. The third one, we're going to get into some band exercises with the Pronator. The Pronator actually works really well with bands, and I'm going to show you how those bands are a little different than using dumbbells, especially when using the Pronator. And at the end of that third video, I have that special offer for you, and I have some really exciting news that I want to share. So I'm really excited for our next video. But first, we're going to get through some throwers 10. So let's dive in. Now the throwers 10 is actually 19 exercises, and we're not going to do all 19. We're going to focus on the dumbbell portion of the throwers 10. The throwers 10 was designed, as it sounds, for throwers to increase their strength and stability of their arm so they can continue doing what they do best, which is throwing. Now, as humans, we all use our arms, so these exercises are great exercises for anyone, whether you're training athletes, training yourself, or helping patients just recover from injuries. The Pronator can help, and these are some great exercises to do that with. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the Pronator, and we're going to start with pronation supination, which is one of the reasons why the Pronator was invented in the first place. But to do that, we're going to hold the weight. I have a 2-pound weight on the end here, and we're going to rotate from pronation then into supination, and then just back and forth. Now the cool thing about the Pronator is that that's too easy. You can just change the weight out. You can swap your weights, put on a heavier weight, and you can keep all of these exercises challenging. Now the downside to using a dumbbell and why the Pronator can work is for a dumbbell, you got to hold the head of the weight, and you're limited to how much of that you can hold and how challenging that is. And this is just a little more comfortable to hold and to rotate. Now the dumbbell actually works well for these next 3 exercises in throwers 10. Those are wrist flexion, wrist extension, and a bicep curl or elbow flexion. Now you can use the Pronator for this, but to actually get a good bicep workout, you have to hold a pretty big weight, and it's pretty challenging to do. You probably can't grip it on this lever arm. It just won't work. The next exercise is tricep extension, and tricep extension works well with the dumbbell, but we're going to use the Pronator. So we're going to bring your elbow, my elbow, to the ceiling, and then I'm going to extend my elbow, getting some tricep extension, elbow extension. But what we can do with the Pronator now is we can extend that to the ceiling, and that adds in some wrist ulnar deviation. So I can extend my elbow here, and then extend the Pronator to the ceiling. You're losing the Pronator at the top of the camera, but you get the idea of what we're doing. Working 2 planes of motion, one at the wrist and one at the elbow, so a little bang for your buck. The next exercises we covered yesterday. Again, if you didn't have a chance to see that, go back in your email and find that video because we go in this in much more detail. We did a head-on approach yesterday for the camera. I'm going to go on the side just so you get another view and see it a little different, but we're going to go back to the prone T and the prone Y. So with the prone T, remember we are facing the ground, laying down, bringing that arm up. Gravity wants to pull the Pronator down to the ground. I have to use my external rotators to hold that weight steady and then get some active scapular retraction in there and work that scap in that plane. You can switch the weight. You can favor your internal rotators or your subscapularis a little bit while you do this. Then we're going to rotate up into that Y or that scaption position and do those same exercises. Really challenging with the Pronator. You can get a pretty big burn. Great exercise to use that for. The next one is a prone row with external rotation. Now for this one, to show you the dumbbell to start, you're going to roll your hand up, and then you're going to bring your hand parallel to the ground and come back down. With the Pronator, we're going to do that same motion, but we're going to add another plane to it and complicate the motion a little bit just to make it a little more challenging. So we're going to row up, keep the Pronator pointed straight out, and then bring it down. Rowing up, hold that scapula, bring that hand to the forearm as parallel to the ground, wrist nice and straight, Pronator parallel, and we can do that in both, again favoring pronation and supination at the wrist, while kicking in rotator cuff and the scapular muscles. Sideline extra rotation is the next exercise, and I'm going to attempt, so you can see, to balance on the ball while we do this, which is pretty challenging, I think, just because of my shoes. But to do that, we're going to lay on your side, whether you're on the ball, on the floor, on a table. You're going to put your elbow right on your hip, nice and square, and you're going to bring your hand up to the ceiling. Now, while doing this, I'm keeping 90 degrees of my elbow, and I'm just rotating my hand up and down, working mainly external rotation of my shoulder. Now with the pronator, we're adding again another degree of motion at the wrist, a little more complexity to that exercise, and we're getting just a little more strength into the wrist. Not really changing much at the shoulder here, getting a little bit more of my wrist. So another way to just make things a little different, change things up a little bit. I know some people get bored of doing the same old exercises, so I'm always happy to introduce something just a little bit different for you. The last two exercises are standing, or kneeling in my case, shoulder abduction and shoulder scaption. So taking a dumbbell just to start, working mainly deltoids, some shoulder stability, some rotator cuff, bringing that arm straight out to 90 degrees. We don't want to go above 90 degrees because when you go above, you cause some impingement in your shoulder. That can irritate your shoulder if you're doing heavy weights. You want to make sure you stay nice and parallel to the ground. Now, especially with the pronator, because we're kicking in more shoulder muscles, more rotator cuff muscles, and we don't want to be pinching that shoulder. So just flying straight out, again, weights pointed forward. You can switch them, do weights pointed backwards, adding in that degree of rotation and challenge when you're doing that with shoulder abduction. Then when you come into scaption, we're doing that same thing, raising those arms above your head, keeping the pronators nice and straight, doing both directions, just changing that workout, changing the force that's being applied to the shoulder. Now, a really great thing to do that I like, that's not part of the Throwers 10, but a great addition, or just a great exercise in general, make sure you can see here, is isometrically holding my shoulders out at 90 degrees and then rotating the weights. So I'm holding my shoulders and I'm using my rotator cuff and my rotators just to rotate this weight at 90 degrees. And you can even do that in scaption. Just hold here while you rotate, and you get a pretty good workout, a little stability, and a little activation through that rotator cuff. So those are the Throwers 10 exercises with the dumbbells, and then having the pronator there to do it and add that complexity to those motions. You can do them with the dumbbell, but why not try with the pronator? You got one, you might as well use it, and use it to the best of its ability. So I appreciate you sticking around here for this video. We got one more coming, and that's going to be on band exercises and how the pronator can change or improve the exercises that we just did with the bands. And then we're going to have that special offer at the very end just for you, my loyal customers. Again, thank you so much. You've made this all possible, and I look forward to one more video.